All empires rise, but none last forever. From the steppes of Mongolia to the palaces of Istanbul and the halls of Westminster, history is filled with mighty powers that once ruled the world, only to collapse under the weight of war, ambition, and time. Today, we'll explore the Ottoman Empire, the Mongol Empire, the British Empire, and others, including the Roman Empire and Qing Dynasty, their heights of glory, the cracks that emerged, and the forces that brought them down. Founded in the late 13th century, the Ottoman Empire grew from a small Anatolian principality into one of the longest-lasting empires in history. It peaked in the 16th century under Suleiman the Magnificent, controlling territory across Europe, Asia, and Africa. So what went wrong? Internal corruption and power struggles weakened central authority. Military defeats, especially at Vienna, 1683, halted expansion. Rising nationalism among subjects fractured unity. Administrative inefficiency and reliance on outdated military systems hurt modernization. The empire aligned with the Central Powers in World War I, leading to military defeat. The 1920 Treaty of Sèvres dismantled the empire, and in 1923, Mustafa Kemal Atatürk formally ended it by founding the Republic of Turkey. Ottoman dynasts were transformed from simple tribal leaders to border princes, UC Beys, and Ghazi leaders under Seljuk and then Tuğanid suzerainty in the 13th and early 14th centuries. With the capture of Bursa, Orhan had been able to declare himself independent of his suzerains and assume the title of Bey, which was retained by his successors until Bayezid I was named Sultan by the Shadow Abbasid Caliph of Cairo following his victory over the Christian Crusaders at the Battle of Nicopolis, 1396. Those title changes reflected changes in the position of the Ottoman ruler within the state and in the organization of the state itself. As UC Bey and even as Bey, the Ottoman leader remained little more than a tribal chief, sharing administrative and military leadership with the Turkmen tribal chiefs surrounding him. Like them, he was owed the loyalty and obedience of his followers only so long as he led them to victory, and only in relation to his military functions. Beyond that, he was only one among equals in the councils that decided general internal policies. The tribes and clans remained autonomous in their internal affairs. The Bey was accessible to the tribe and clan leaders as well as to their followers. He could intervene in disputes among the clans, but jurisdiction was temporary and restricted. Muslim law and jurists had little influence, whereas Turkish tribal law and custom prevailed. In such a situation, the idea of rule was very limited. Administration was conceived mainly in financial terms, with each clan or family or tribe accepting Ottoman military leadership largely for the financial rewards it could bring. Ottoman chiefs collected the booty in conquered lands and had the right to collect taxes from lands left in their possession after conquests. The only advantage that the Bey, as tribal war leader, had over the chiefs surrounding him was the pensik, fifth, or right to collect an extra fifth of the booty taken by his followers. Because the Bey was dependent for his power and revenues on the assent of his followers, his authority was limited in scope and in time. Under Genghis Khan, the Mongol Empire rose to become the largest contiguous land empire in history. By the mid-13th century, it stretched from the Korean peninsula to Eastern Europe. But within a century, the empire fragmented. Why? Power was divided among Genghis Khan's descendants, causing internal conflict. Local leaders of the Golden Horde, Ilkhanate, and Yuan dynasty pursued their own ambitions. Cultural and religious diversity made unity difficult. The Black Death disrupted trade and destabilized cities. Despite its disintegration, the Mongol Empire transformed trade, warfare, and administration across Eurasia. Genghis Khan moved his troops into the quasi-Chinese Chen-ruled North China in 1211, and in 1215 they destroyed the capital city. Hissen Ogode conquered all of North China by 1234 and ruled it from 1229 to 1241. Genghis Khan's grandson, Kublai Khan, defeated the Chinese Southern Song in 1279, and for the first time all of China was under foreign rule. In 1271, Kublai Khan named his dynasty Yuan, which means origin of the universe. The Yuan dynasty in China lasted from 1279 to 1368. Kublai Khan followed a tentative policy of Sinicization. That is, he adapted to the Chinese way of governing, and when you look at his portrait, he looks very much like other Chinese rulers. On the other hand, although he used some Chinese in low positions in the government, he abolished the civil service exams, preferred to use Chinese in his bureaucracy, and established separate rules for the Mongols and for the Chinese. His capital, present-day Beijing, became a cosmopolitan and wealthy city. Kublai Khan made a census of the population, dividing the people into 4 categories: Mongols, miscellaneous aliens, which included West Asian Muslims who performed important services for the Mongols, North Chinese called Han people, those who had been under the Qin state and their descendants, including Chinese, Jurchen, Khitans, and Lorians. And finally, Southern Chinese, subjects of the Southern Sung, whom the Mongols considered the least trustworthy. The Mongols could not have ruled China without the help of some of the Chinese elite, and yet they were reluctant to use the Chinese, particularly the Southern Song, in their government. At the very time when the empire needed strong central control to stay in power, the Mongols wasted their efforts battling over succession. Another familiar reason for the demise of an empire was the rise of local landlords. When the military leaders no longer had a central figure to whom to give their loyalty, they used the troops to farm their land, not to fight, increasing their own power and reducing the morale of the troops. The end of the Yuan rule in China came by expulsion and not by absorption. For the Chinese, the most important factor was peasant unrest caused by the overtaxation, corvée, unsuccessful military campaigns, and insecurity. The Chinese always resented the foreigners, and in the end revolted and drove them out. A Chinese orphan Hongwu, a peasant soldier who gave up banditry to become a Buddhist monk, led the revolt and founded the Ming Dynasty in 1368. At its height, the British Empire ruled nearly a quarter of the globe, enforcing policies through naval dominance and colonial administration. Its collapse stemmed from several key forces: World War I and II, depleted economic and military power, anti-colonial resistance movements gained strength worldwide, economic crisis and debt limited the empire's ability to maintain its holdings. The Indian independence movement, along with other liberation efforts, gained traction. The Suez Crisis, 1956, symbolized Britain's diminished global role. By the 1970s, decolonization was nearly complete. Today, its legacy lives on in the Commonwealth and in the legal and cultural systems of former colonies. The Ottomans, Mongols, British, Romans, and Qing each built legacies that shaped civilization. But no matter how vast or powerful, every empire must face the test of change. Which fallen empire do you think left the deepest mark on the world? Let us know in the comments, and be sure to like, subscribe, and ring the bell for more powerful stories of rise, reign, and ruin.